Love beyond profit and loss. Once, in a small town, there lived a man named Rajesh. He lived with his wife Mira and their 6-year-old daughter Ria. One evening, Rajesh closed his shop early to take his family to the nearby town fair. They were excited, especially little Ria, who was eager to ride the Ferris wheel and eat cotton candy. As they drove through a quiet road, they saw a young boy, no older than 10, sitting by the roadside with a small wooden cart filled with fresh roses. His clothes were worn and his face looked tired, but his eyes were full of hope as he eagerly waited for customers. Ria, fascinated by the bright red roses, tugged at her father's sleeve and said, "Papa, can we buy a rose?" Rajesh stopped the car and Mira rolled down the window. "How much for one rose, beta?" she asked gently. The boy hesitated before answering. 50 rupees each, ma'am." Mira, trying to bargain, said, "That's a little expensive. Can you give it for 30? The boy lowered his eyes and softly replied, "Ma'am, these roses are fresh and picked with care. I help my mother sell them. She's sick, and I need to earn enough for her medicine. I can't sell them for less." Mira felt a pang of guilt, but still insisted, "Please, just one for 30? The boy thought for a moment, then smiled and said, "All right, for your little daughter, I'll give you one for 30 rupees. Ria clapped her hands in joy as the boy handed her a beautiful red rose. She held it carefully, admiring its softness. But as she leaned out of the window, the rose slipped from her tiny hands and fell onto the dusty road, getting crushed under a passing bicycle. Ria's eyes welled up with tears. "My rose!" she cried. The boy immediately bent down, picked up another rose and handed it to her. "Don't cry, little sister. Here, take this one." Mira was touched by the boy's kindness. "You don't have to do that," she said. "It's okay, ma'am. My mother says in relationships we shouldn't count profit or loss," the boy replied with a smile. Rajesh looked at the boy for a long moment, then reached into his pocket and took out some money. He handed the boy 500 rupees. The boy's eyes widened. "Sir, this is too much for one rose." Rajesh smiled warmly. "This is not for the rose. This is for your kindness and for your mother's medicine." Tears welled up in the boy's eyes as he whispered, "Thank you, sir. Thank you so much." That night, as they reached the fair, Rajesh turned to his wife and said, "Mira, I've been arguing with my younger brother over a piece of land for months now, but today this boy reminded me that relationships are more valuable than anything. Tomorrow I'm going to call my brother and end this fight. He can have the land. I just want my brother back." Mira smiled, holding his hand tightly. "You're right, Rajesh. True happiness comes from love, sacrifice, and understanding, not from material things." That evening, as Ria enjoyed her cotton candy, Rajesh felt a peace he hadn't felt in years. He had just learned that in relationships, true wealth is not in profit or loss. It is in the love we share. Vocabulary from the story: bargain, meaning to negotiate the price of something to get a lower rate. Example: Mira tried to bargain with the boy, asking if he could sell the rose for 30 rupees instead of 50. Fascinated, meaning very interested or attracted to something. Example: Ria was fascinated by the bright red roses and eagerly asked her father to buy one. Pang, meaning a sudden sharp feeling of emotion, such as guilt or sadness. Example: Mira felt a pang of guilt when she realized the boy was selling roses to buy medicine for his sick mother. Welled, meaning filled up with liquid, usually referring to tears. Example: tears welled up in Ria's eyes when her rose fell to the ground and got crushed. Sacrifice meaning giving up something valuable for the sake of others. Example: Rajesh decided to end the argument with his brother, realizing that relationships require sacrifice and love. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.